Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you for joining. Hope you're all feeling well. We will continue our reading from Śrīla Bhāgavatāmrta. Mukkam karoti vachalam pangum langhate girim yat kripatamam vande shigurum din tarinam parmananda madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hariyam Tatsat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the preface and we couldn't finish it last time, so we'll continue from there. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. This verse was being said, Ete chamsa kala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam, emphasizing Krishna's unique and primary position as the superlative, original, supreme personality of Godhead. This verse is a foundational axiom of Gaudiya Vaishnava theology. Following Srila Jiva Gosvāmi in Krishna Sandarbha 29, Gaudiya Acharyas consider it the Paribhash Sutra or governing declaration of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Its gist is encapsulated in the words Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam, which may be loosely translated as Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While the Brihad Bhāgavatāmrta was clearly predicated on this understanding, in that book Srila Sanatana Goswami made no attempt to corroborate it. Perhaps because Srimad Bhagavatam itself was already widely regarded as explicit, unambiguous and authoritative. Shriman Gopi Pranadhan Das, who also wrote the commentated translation of the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust edition of Brihad Bhāgavatāmrta, therein explains that Srila Sanatana Goswami left the task of conclusively establishing Krishna's preeminence to Srila Rupa Goswami, who then wrote his Laghu Bhāgavatāmrta. Srila Rupa Goswami approaches this theological conclusion gradually and methodically, exemplifying the careful scriptural discrimination that characterizes those empowered to propagate Krishna consciousness. The same assertion that Krishna is the original Supreme Godhead himself was further elaborated upon by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandarbha, and it has been exhaustively explained by various other Gaudiya Vaishnava scholars down to the present day. Srila Prabhupada stated that his mission was to deliver the Western world, in particular, from the grip of voidism and impersonalism, and his explicit strategy was to establish Lord Sri Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead. His inimitable presentation of Krishna consciousness to the modern world was an unimaginably ambitious effort focused on this purpose. He clearly expressed his own profound appreciation of the importance of this simple truth even before founding ISKCON. He later instituted daily practices in his ISKCON movement such that even casual ISKCON participants would, at least in theory, understand unmistakably that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His Divine Grace repeatedly emphasized this essential truth throughout his many books, recorded lectures, correspondence, and personal conversations. So much so that His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami could fairly identify it as Srila Prabhupada's Mahakavakya, or definitive slogan. For Prabhupada, the wide range of topics that come under the umbrella of Sambandha is commanded by one axiomatic truth. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is Prabhupada's Mahavakya, his great saying that informs the entire content of his thought, which would radically change without it. As a semantic time-release device, it is deployed throughout his already prioritized texts as a gradual disclosure of reality. Nowhere are Prabhupada's pedagogical skills more in demand than in making the otherwise abstruse Gaudiya Vaishnava ontology comprehensible. Much of this burden is shouldered by formulaic assertions. Foremost among them is Mahavakya, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Laghu Bhāgavatāmrta theologically corroborates this simple yet sublime assertion in great detail and with copious scriptural references, thus elevating popular Krishnite devotion beyond poetic sentiment or personal opinion and using the conventional terms of a serious philosophical exegesis. Readers will find this book a valuable source of information that answers the kinds of perennial questions all genuine spiritual aspirants must ask. Also, it can serve as a helpful source when celebrating the appearance days of the major incarnations listed herein. For example, yesterday was the disappearance day of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Who was the father of Śrīla Prabhupada's spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is also one of our acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage. Both the text and its learned commentary can also reconcile that might appear to be contradictory statements from different Vedic authorities. On a deeper level, it implicitly recognizes that logically irreconcilable disagreements exist even among liberated Vaishnavas and Mahajans. This characteristic is also shared by its companion work, the Brihad Bhāgavatāmrta. The Laghu Bhāgavatāmrta is one of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition's most important and definitive texts. It is a foundational work substantiating the essential theological conclusion animating the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, the institution that is the major vehicle for transmitting the teachings of Gaudiya Vaishnavism worldwide, and that His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada founded and guided more than 4 centuries after the book's composition. Hare Krishna, signed by Mukundatta Das, Sridham Vrindavan, on Shri Gaura Purnima, March 19, 2014. As we know, Mukundatta Das Prabhu is the head pujari of the Krishna Balram temple. And also I would like to say the verse used in ISKCON for offering obeisances to Srila Prabhupada is Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaura Vani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Saraswati Gosvāmi. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Dev and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Srila Prabhupada necessarily composed this verse himself, since in the early days of ISKCON his disciples knew little or no Sanskrit. This is in the footnotes of this preface. Also, it's written here that in his now famous 1936 Vyas Puja address before members and guests of the Bombay Gaudiya Mutt, Srila Prabhupada said, "Had Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur not appeared before us, we would not have been able to understand the eternal truth of the sublime teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Had he not appeared before us, we could not have been able to know the significance of the first shloka of Brahma Samhita, Ishvaraha Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Adir Govinda Sarvakaran Karanam." Krishna, who is also known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. And now let's read about Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmi. So it's mentioned here in the Laghu Bhāgavatāmrta after the preface. What we know about the life of Laghu Bhāgavatāmrta's author comes mostly from Krishnadas Kaviraj's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Narhari Chakravarti's Bhakti Ratnakar. These two sources inform us that Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmi, circa 1489 to 1564, was a direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that he and his brother Sri Sanatana Goswami were the most senior of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, the exalted group who helped establish the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Rupa Goswami was born into a family of respectable Saraswat Brahmins from the southern province of Karnataka. His great-grandfather Rupeshwar, after a quarrel with his brother Harihar, migrated east, and Rupa's grandfather Padmanabh settled on the bank of the Ganga at the Naihati, West Bengal. Rupa's father Sri Kumar moved further east into what is now the Jessore district of Bangladesh, where he settled and had a number of sons, the last 3 of whom he named Amar, later Sanatan, Santosh, later Rupa, and Vallabh, was later known as Anupam. These 3 brothers were attracted to devotional service from childhood. Amar and Santosh were especially attracted to Lord Krishna, and Vallabh to Sri Ramchandra, that is Anupam. The brothers proved extremely competent scholars and managers, and the Mughal tyrant Nawab Hussain Shah pressed them into government service. Amar was appointed the Nawab's prime minister, Santosh his chief assistant minister, and Vallabh his state treasurer. Turning over most of his responsibilities to the 3 brothers, the Nawab felt free to pursue his military ambitions. The 3 brothers established themselves in Ramkeli near the Nawab's capital. By this time, Santosh had become known by his official title Dabir Khas, and Amar by Sakar Malik. Still, despite their powerful positions, their only joy in life lay in serving Krishna and his devotees. They opened their wealthy estate to the Vaishnavas, planted groves of Kadam and other Vrindavan trees to remind their guests of Krishna, built replicas and sacred Radha Kund and Shyam Kund, and invited learned Pandits to hold discussions on Srimad Bhagavatam and other Shastras. The brothers became renowned for their own scholarship and exalted characters. The 3 of them heard that Lord Chaitanya was living as a family man in Navadvip, and became eager to meet him. But how could they? They felt degraded and untouchable. Their father Kumardev had been so strict in his Brahminical principles that if he had even seen the face of a meat eater, he would have fasted for the day, and here they were working as a paid servants of Yavana king. Nonetheless, they wrote to Lord Chaitanya. The Lord encouraged them to be patient about their situation. Paravyasinini nari vyagrapi graha karmasu tad eva swadayati antar navasanga rasayanam. If a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in her household affairs, though within her heart always relishing the company of her paramour. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 1, verse number 211. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he decided to go to Vrindavan. Followed by large crowds, he proceeded north and stopped at Ramkeli. Meanwhile, Hussain Shah received news that a sannyasi named Chaitanya was creating a stir in the countryside. By consulting with Dabir Khas and other ministers, the Nawab decided that Chaitanya was a worthy saint, perhaps even God himself, and ordered that no one interfere with his doings. Still, Dabir Khas worried that the capricious Hussain Shah could turn against Lord Chaitanya. Thus, in the middle of the night, he and Sakar Malik went incognito to warn the Lord of the danger. The two approached Lord Chaitanya with straws between their teeth to show their humility. They prostrated themselves before him and with plaintive prayers confessed their unfitness to receive his mercy. In response, the Lord showered them with affection. Shuni Mahaprabhu kahe shuna dabir khas tumi dui bhai mor puratan das. After hearing the prayer, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Dabir Khas, you two brothers are my old servants. My dear Sakar Malik, from this day your names will be changed to Śrīla Rupa and Śrīla Sanatan. Now please abandon your humility, for my heart is breaking to see you so humble." This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 1, verses 207 and 208. Sanatan then advised that Lord Chaitanya not to go to Vrindavan with so many people, and the Lord accepted his advice and returned to his base at Puri. The three brothers, Rupa, Sanatan and Anupam, then made plans to join them, and they engaged Brahmins in performing purificatory rituals to help them give up their material life and realize their hope. Soon Rupa and Anupam loaded the bulk of their wealth on a large boat and left Ramkeli for their hometown, leaving their senior brother Sanatan to deal with Hussain Shah. In case Sanatan might need funds, Rupa deposited a large sum with a merchant in Ramkeli and informed Sanatan about this in a letter. The rest of their wealth he distributed to family members, Brahmins and various Vaishnavas. Rupa and Anupam heard that Lord Chaitanya was making a second attempt to visit Vrindavan, and they set out in that direction in hopes of meeting him. By then, though, Lord Chaitanya was already on his way back, and the brothers met up with him at Prayag, which is now Allahabad. Lord Chaitanya was very Allahabad, and now again it is known as Prayagraj. The name has been changed to the original name. Later, at a place in Prayag called Dashavamedh Ghat, Lord Chaitanya spent 10 days instructing Rupa Gosvāmi and blessed him with the power to understand and disseminate the ultimate conclusions about Lord Krishna, devotional service and the truth about the transcendental mellows culminating in conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. Rupa wanted to accompany the Lord back to Puri, but the Lord ordered him to go to Vrindavan instead. Soon he promised the two brothers could visit him in Puri. Srila Karnapura, an eminent poet among the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees, writes in his Chaitanya Chandrodaya 9.29 38, यह प्राग एव प्रिय गुण गणैर गाढ़ बद्धो अपि मुक्तो गेहा ध्यासाद रस इव परो मूर्त एवाप्य अमूर्तः प्रेमाल लापैर दृढ़ातर परिष्वंग रंगः प्रयागे तम श्री रूपम सममम अनुपमेम ने नानु जग्राह devah. From the very beginning, Śrīla Rupa Goswami was bound by attraction to the qualities of his beloved Lord, yet free from the false identification of family life. Although Śrīla Rupa Goswami had no material body, he was the embodiment of the transcendental tastes of devotional service. At Prayag, the Lord bestowed mercy on Rupa and his brother Anupam, holding loving conversations with them and embracing them with wholehearted pleasure. Kalina Vrindavan Keli Varta Lupteti Tam Khyapaitum Vishishya Kripamritena Abhishisheka Devas Tatraiva Rupam Cha Sanatanam Cha. In the course of time, the transcendental news of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan was almost lost. To carry out the work in Vrindavan of explicitly enunciating those pastimes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Śrīla Rupa Goswami and Śrīla Sanatana Goswami with the nectar of his mercy. Rupa and Anupam went on to Vrindavan, and having reached Mathura, met Subuddhi Rai, another devotee Lord Chaitanya had sent there. The brothers stayed in Subuddhi Rai's company for 1 month, touring the 12 forests of Vraja. After that, they went east in search of Sanatana Goswami. By then, Sanatana, having finally escaped from the hands of Hussain Shah, was already on his way to Vrindavan. The brothers missed each other as they travelled in opposite directions between Prayag and Vrindavan. Reaching Varanasi, Rupa and Anupam were extremely happy to see how the city, although known to be a seat of Mayavad philosophers, had been transformed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's visit. They also learned about the meeting between Lord Chaitanya and Sanatan Goswami and Sanatan's departure for Vrindavan on the Lord's order. Rupa and Anupam decided to go to Jagannath Puri through Bengal and not to immediately look for Sanatan Goswami. For that journey on the banks of the Ganga in Bengal, Anupam passed away. Because of the delay caused by his brother's death, Rupa couldn't join the Bengali devotees on the annual pilgrimage to Jagannath Puri, so later proceeded to Puri alone. Finally arriving in Jagannath Puri, Rupa Goswami met Lord Chaitanya, who had been awaiting him there. The Lord suggested that Rupa Goswami live with Śrīla Haridas Thakur and then introduced him to all the devotees, who embraced Rupa Goswami with affection. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Rupa and Haridas every day. And blessing them with his personal association and bringing them prasad from Lord Jagannath's temple. Neither Rupa nor Haridas would enter the temple. Absorbed in humility, they considered themselves unfit. And coincidentally, tomorrow is also Puri Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. There was an incident after the Rath Yatra that proved that Lord Chaitanya had empowered Srila Rupa Goswami to understand and express in writing the inner feelings of his heart. Each year, as the Lord danced before the Lord Jagannath's chariot, the Lord always uttered a particular verse, the meaning of which no one except Swarup Damodar could understand. Yah Kumar Harah so ev hi varas, ta ev chaitra kshapas, te kon milita malati surabhayah praudaha kadamban nilaha sa chaivamsi tathapi tatra surat vyapara leela vidhav reva rodasi vetasi taru tale chetah samutkanthate. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the some moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of blooming malati flowers is there, and the same breezes are blowing from Kadam forest in our intimate relationship. I'm also the same lover, yet my mind is not happy here. I'm eager to go back to the place of the bank of the Reva river. To the place on the bank of the Reva under the Vetasi tree. That this is my desire. Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila 1.78. Having by chance overheard Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's reciting this verse, Rupa Goswami composed another verse to describe the meaning of the first verse. Priya so yam Krishnah sahachari Kurukshetra militas tathaham saradha tad idam ubhayo sangama sukham tathapya kantah khelan madhura murli panchama jushe mano me karindi purina vipanaya spriyati. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I still like to go to the bank of Yamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibrations of a sweet flute playing and the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. Writing the verse on a palm leaf, Rupa Goswami slipped it between the thatches in his roof and went to the ocean to bathe. Lord Chaitanya arrived and seeing the palm leaf among the thatches read it and became overwhelmed with ecstatic love. When Rupa Goswami returned, the Lord slapped him mildly in love and spoke, "My heart is very confidential. How did you know my mind in this way?" Saying this, he firmly embraced Rupa Goswami. Later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed Rupa's verse to Swarup Damodar, who concluded that Rupa Goswami could understand the Lord's heart only by the Lord's causeless mercy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed that in Prayag he had bestowed on Rupa his transcendental potency. The Lord then entrusted Rupa Goswami to Swarup Damodar for further instruction in Bhakti Rasa. So we'll continue reading from here onwards next time. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.